This is an incoming transmission from the Jersey Shore.
This is Financial Insanity with Scott McLean, powered by McLean Advisory Group. Today you'll hear some of the most important financial information and wealth-building techniques available anywhere.
Let's get this party started, huh?
Do you have a question for Scott and the team?
Am I on the air?
609-488-4646. That's 609-488-4646.
We'll get that information to them by radio.
Now, Financial Insanity with Scott McLean.
This is a special edition of Financial Insanity as we are bringing in a guest to help us talk about love and legacy. I'm Alex Dingman, alongside, as always, Scott McLean of McLean Advisory Group. And we're bringing in Dave Connolley. You've heard him before. He's been a lawyer in New Jersey for over 40 years and is a consultant currently for the firm of Elizabeth Apollo. And yes, we are all here to discuss estate planning for unmarried partners. Because you see, guys, in a world where love knows no bounds, many couples have chosen a path less traveled by opting for domestic partnership over marriage. But what happens when it comes to securing your future together, protecting your assets, and avoiding those notorious tax pitfalls? We all want to do that. Scott, talk about the fact that people may join domestic partnership agreements for various reasons, right?
There are so many reasons that I've noticed, whether you live in Florida, New Jersey, California, no matter where you live, every state is different, which is why I brought Dave in, and we've worked together so many years, and as a tremendous consultant now with Elizabeth. You know, I think we want to bring a lawyer on, and of course now as a consultant, because you may be listening to us right now, and you're living with a lovely spouse, and or not spouse, I shouldn't say, you're not married yet, but you're living with a loved one. You don't want to get married, and I've gone through this so many different scenarios, and I don't need to know why you don't want to get married. The question is, what's going to happen if you don't get married, if you pass away? Is she or him, or maybe you have same-sex partners? It's all the same when it comes to this world. And Alex, the challenge I find is, what happens if one of you die? Let's say my girlfriend and I, we, of course, live in my house, and all of a sudden, it's my house. I have 3 children, and all of a sudden I die. Are my kids going to throw my girlfriend out, my lover out? This is so many problems. What happens if I go to the hospital, and all of a sudden, who's going to make some decisions? What happens if I die and my lover gets some of my assets? What's the taxation? So I wanted to bring Davey in because he's seen this so many times, and I can tell you, when I handle people's finances, this is a problem. This is nothing to put off, guys. If this is you, or maybe you have a friend, or maybe you have maybe you're thinking about maybe having your lover move in with you, and you're not sure how to handle it. You're not sure how to talk to your kids. You know, with over 42 years of experience, let's have that talk, Alex. People need to give us a call, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely. And that number, if you hear something today that resonates with you, 609-488-4646, 609-488-4646. And we're not going to have tons of time to dive into each one of these common reasons to join a domestic partnership agreement, to obtain one, but we're going to try to go through this list as best we can. And let's start with one obvious one, guys: tax benefits. Talk a little bit about the potential tax benefits of joining this sort of agreement.
Dave, you just faced a case right now that we're working on together. We won't say names.
Right.
And you've been helping this family amazing. And this couple did not get married. They were about to get married. Dave, share what's going on and the nightmare and the expense that they could have avoided.
The good news is that the estate is worth close to $2 million, which is great. The bad news is that for personal reasons, that the couple who were living together for several years did not want to get married at this time and did not enter into a domestic partnership agreement. He was in his 50s and unfortunately took a heart attack and left everything to his live-in. And as a result of not being married, they are going to pay, or she's going to pay, somewhere around $300,000 to the state of New Jersey. That's inheritance taxes. That could have been avoided if they had, even if they're not married, if they had registered as a domestic partnership. Domestic partnership is given the same benefits in inheritance taxes as a married couple. So the $300,000 would have went away and everything still would have went to the spouse. But you have to take that initial step to register for the domestic partnership. In order to qualify for a domestic partnership, it can be same-sex couples or opposite sex. You have to be both parties have to be 62 years or older. They have to share a common residence in New Jersey. Both have to be jointly responsible for each other's common welfare and have either financial arrangements that they're both responsible for each other, joint ownership in real estate, joint ownership in personal property, and then they're truly responsible for each other. They have to, neither applicant can be married or in a civil union relationship with another party. You have to take this application for domestic partnership and you file it in any municipality in the state of New Jersey. You take the application, you fill it out in front of a notary, you pay a fee, I think it's $28, and then they will give you an affidavit of domestic partnership confirming that you are in a relationship. That would eliminate the inheritance taxes, and that's probably the biggest benefit.
Well, and Dave, you talked $28 there, roughly to get that, to save yourself $300,000. And what I hear sometimes is people will say, well, I'm not getting married. It's just paperwork. It doesn't mean anything. It's just whatever. Government can just get our hand in our relationship or something. Well, this is a great example of, that little bit of paperwork, there can be a good reason. You become incapacitated or, God forbid, you pass away. You want to have things lined up correctly. And sometimes if it's not a marriage, this sort of domestic partnership agreement can protect you. And so thank you for going over the tax benefits. And I skipped over one, legal protections, an obvious one as well, kind of in the same vein there. So if you would, discuss that a little bit, legal protections for a couple in this sort of agreement.
I'd met a couple, a lovely couple. They've been living together for 17 years. And I said, why the heck you guys ain't getting married now? What's going on? Oh, Scotty, we've been through it. My lovely girlfriend here, and I want to make sure she's taken care of. And but I didn't want to, I just didn't want to go that route. Okay, great. So you've been together 17 years, and I said to this young lady, because she was the owner of the house, we'll call her Maggie. We'll call her like my daughter's name. So Maggie was married to, let's say, a guy named Tom. And so Maggie and Tom are not married, but together 17 years. And I said, Maggie, in the event you pass away, is Tom allowed to stay at the house? Because Tom has 2 children and Maggie has 3 children. And Maggie said, well, sure he can. Do you have something in writing? Well, no. Dave, if you remember this family, you did
Absolutely.
The agreement. And basically, what would happen if they didn't do a agreement? What do you call this agreement to make sure that this partner, Tom, can stay in Maggie's house, take care of it? What are the rules in this case? Because I see this, they love each other. The kids know, all the kids know each other. But you know what? The crows and the clowns show up at the funeral. What do you do?
In New Jersey, a partner that is not registered, if you're living with a partner and you're not registered as a domestic partner, that partner has absolutely no rights in the deceased party's estate. The only rights come via the deceased party's last will and testament. So if the person is not named in a last will and testament, if the survivor is not named at all and everything goes to the deceased person's children, then they're out of luck. The children can do anything they want with the property, and the survivor has absolutely no rights. So it's not only a tax issue, it's also an issue of your rights in the estate of your domestic partner. You're treated as a spouse if you have the domestic partnership filed. If you don't have it, you're not treated as a spouse. Basically, you're treated as a stranger.
what about this rule? I hear people saying, well, I heard that if you common law, if we're married, if we're together for XYZ years, we have common law. What are they saying?
Ain't no such thing as common law in New Jersey.
Okay. Alex?
That's as easy as that is. All right, guys, we got about one more minute here. And so what I want you to do, I want you to roll into the phone number, but finish off with, a 1-minute thought on the healthcare benefits. Just real quickly, the benefits from a healthcare perspective when you're in a partnership like this.
Well, the health care is normally given by an employer to an employee. Most of the employers are treating a domestic partner the same as a spouse. But it's not law that the state can rule and regulate. It's the companies regulated, and the companies are going towards giving the domestic partner the same rights as a spouse. And the domestic partnership law is statewide. So each state has to recognize it. If your state does not recognize it, you don't have a domestic partnership relationship, and it's not governed by federal law. So if you're a domestic partner, you can file a joint return with the state of New Jersey. If you're a domestic partnership, you still cannot file a joint return with the federal government. It has to be individual.
And Scott,
but Alex, it goes one more thing. It's called who's going to make the decision if you're in the hospital, nursing care. Who's making those decisions? That goes to the power of attorney agreement. In addition to what Dave was mentioning about this tremendous agreement that people need to put in place.
Yep, very important stuff. And if you have questions about this, the number 609-488-4646, 609-488-4646. We got more reasons coming up here for common reasons for obtaining a domestic partnership agreement. This is really interesting stuff. We're going to come right back, talk about parental rights, financial planning, and more. On the other side, this is Financial Insanity.
Stop for a moment and think about this. Do you know how much money in your 401k or IRA is actually yours? Or will the government take a bigger chunk than you thought? Remember, you still might owe taxes on that money. But do you have a plan to help make sure you don't pay more than you should? At McLean Advisory Group, we believe you deserve to keep more of what you've earned, which is why we're here to help you navigate the confusing world of retirement taxes. It's your money. You deserve to know what's at stake. Right now, taxes are historically low, but they won't be this low forever. So call the McLean Advisory Group team today so you don't miss out on this opportunity. 609-488-4646. That's 609-488-4646. You work hard for your money, and we'll work just as hard to help you keep it. McLean Advisory Group, 609-488-4646. Investment advisory services offered through Sound Income Strategies, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisory firm. McLean Tax Advisory Group and Sound Income Strategies are not associated entities.
Get all this stuff and you try to put it away like these hoarders on TV. It has an emotional attachment.
So, Scott, you're saying I don't have to keep every single drawing that my son has done? You're saying I could throw some of that away?
The answer is yes. You can take a picture, then throw it out.
This is Financial Insanity with Scott McLean, presented by McLean Advisory Group.
Thank you so much for joining us today on a special edition of Financial Insanity. Scott and I, joined by Dave Connolley. He's been a lawyer in the area for over 40 years, currently a consultant for the firm of Elizabeth Apollo. Today, we're talking about estate planning for unmarried partners. Oh yeah, we cover it all, baby. And we are going over some common reasons for obtaining a domestic partnership agreement. We just love on this show, and we just want to help you no matter what your love looks like. Let's talk here about parental rights, and I know we also want to get into financial planning.
Thanks, Alex. I'm so glad that if you're listening right now, we've spoken about it a lot. I want you to be able to go back to our website and be able to listen to this recording. If you are thinking about moving in with your lover, maybe you're in with your lover right now, I can promise you need to take your legal. Now, why would a financial planner talk about these legal documents? Because I call the three blind mice and they don't talk to each other. And there we could do financial planning, which Alex just spent time we're going to talk about. But the question is, financial planning not only encompasses money, it also encompasses the assets, like the house, like the other real estates, property. Dave, Alex brought up an issue about parental rights. Now, obviously, this is different. So go over that, Dave.
If there's an issue of parental rights, there's going to be in all likelihood, a court hearing. A lot of people go into the domestic relationship with the idea that if they don't want to continue with that relationship, all they have to do is file a notice of termination with the same township that they filed the original domestic relationship documents with, and it's done. And that's correct. But if there's a problem with parental rights, if there's a problem with distribution of property, then you're in the same type of relationship as a married couple getting divorced. So you do have the rights of a spouse with respect to your children. You do have the rights of a spouse with respect to distribution of property, but you're in family court arguing the matter.
That could cost a lot of money. Is that right, Dave?
Yeah, I mean, you can't eliminate that if the parties can't agree to distribution of property or custody of child and visitation. It has to go to court, and the only one that can decide is a judge. But you're not getting any more or any less rights by entering into a domestic partnership. If everything is agreed to, you don't have to go through a divorce. You just file a termination and you're done.
So this leads us into the will. Now it leads us into the power of attorney. The power of attorney, let's say, is we spoke about Tom and Maggie, the clients you helped before. Tom had 2 children. Maggie had 3. They lived in Maggie's house. But Maggie, of course, lights went dim, and now she's in the nursing home, and she didn't update her legal documents. Now her children take over, even though Tom may be able to stay in the house if they fix that. And now Maggie's children are in charge, and Tom has to stand on the side and say nothing. Is that about right, Dave?
Yeah, if they don't have a domestic partnership filed, then Tom has no rights in the house. If they do, then he has the same rights as a spouse.
But how about rights to speak to the doctor? How about rights to say what medicine she can take? How about rights that would be the power of attorney? Is that right for healthcare matters?
The primary documents you have is a power of attorney, the healthcare directive, and that names a person that will represent the party in the hospital. Without that, it's a very gray area, and it depends on whether the hospital will talk to the domestic partner or not, or the kids. They don't want to get sued. That's the biggest concern of the hospital, not to make a decision based upon one party when you have several parties disagreeing with that decision.
Yep. So we have the issue I mentioned before. Tom's got 2 children living at Maggie's house. Maggie has the assets. Maggie signed some paperwork giving Tom the life rights, I guess, until he passes away or something like that. I guess whatever Dave's going to say. The next question is, of course, the stock market is dropping, and maybe Maggie wants to get her money out of the accounts and move them to a safer position. Maggie doesn't know how to do it. Tom knows how to do it. So that's called the power of attorney for financial matters, but her children are involved. What happens?
Power of attorney takes precedence over the children being involved. If Maggie had executed any documents appointing her domestic partner as being in charge, that'll prevail to the extent of overturning any decision that the children want.
Right. So Maggie being obviously her kids are in charge. Tom has to stand on the sideline and watch all this happen with nothing to say. And after 17 years, you'd figure you'd have something to say. Guys, if you're out there and you haven't had a legal review, a financial review, I call it the 3D approach. Alex, we spoke about the 3D approach at our firm. Alex, can you explain what we spoke about the 3D approach when we meet with people and the process that's so important because they're leaving the tax, the legal, and the finances out?
Yeah, well, and that's what it's all about. It's that if you're not taking a 3D approach, you're not looking at everything. And that's what you can do is you're going to look at all aspects to make sure that everything is covered. And so you're going to go through all the 3Ds, Scott, and explain the Ds for folks so that they can understand when they come into you. This will help give them guidance of where the conversation is going to go.
It's so important if you have, as I say so many times when I meet with people, first time I meet with people, we talk about the 3D, the dreams, the dollars, and the dynasty. The dream portion is what you want. What does it look like? So in case if you're a domestic partnership, maybe you need to clean up your legal stuff as well as your financial stuff we're going to talk about, which goes into the dollars. Let's fix this up. Who takes care? And then the dynasty. Who's going to help you through this matter? This is where you pull in the three blind mice. Well, let's take their glasses off, take a 3D approach, look at the dreams, look at your dollars, look at your dynasty. So at McLean Advisory Group, we take a look at everything. This is not just simply set it and forget it. This is not simply let's just take care of the money. Well, just today I had an appointment saying I never had this approach. I don't know why people don't do this. And Dave and I have been together for over 40 something years. Dave in the legal world, me in the financial world. And I just still don't understand why they don't do it. But I do know it. It's how do I get the money quickly and I go on to the next victim or next person. I shouldn't say it that way. But I feel that way because they're not looking at everything. And this is why the three blind mice could destroy how it leads your money to a financial mousetrap.
Yep. And if you want McLean Advisory Group to take that 3D look, to take that holistic approach at your retirement, your finances, the number 609-488-4646, 609-488-4646. Really enjoying today being joined by Dave Connolley, who is a consultant for the firm of Elizabeth Apollo and has been a lawyer in New Jersey for over 40 years. Like Scott just mentioned, they've been working closely together for a very long time, and they still like each other, which is great, coming on here and doing the radio with us. Yeah. Well, I was trying, Scott. All right, so let's talk here about property. How can being in this sort of agreement, when we're talking about a domestic partnership, maybe, we're not going through marriage, we're getting this agreement instead, how can this maybe protect some property that is owned by the couple or maybe a member of the relationship?
Well, the primary thing is to get the documents in place that would distribute the property at a person's death, primarily the last will and testament. And that should be reviewed every couple of years to make sure that the facts are still consistent and nothing has to be changed. If there is no marriage and there is no domestic partnership, then the person who owns the property can do anything they want. The person that is living there as a partner but with no formal documentation has no interest in any of the property that the other person has. So to protect the parties, I've seen where, as Scott says, people have been together for 15, 20 years, never filed anything, never got married. The male passes away, and the female, who is the survivor, has no interest in anything, and everything just goes by intestacy to his kids.
Yep. Well, and Scott, finish off this segment here just talking about how that you are going to have a domestic partnership, the couple come in and talk to you just like a married couple. You're going to help them with their financial planning. Just talk about how the access and the benefits of getting that financial planning is something that this agreement can help with as well.
When we go through the process, people come in, we are looking, as you said, Alex, as everything. What if scenarios? Every scenario is a what if scenario. So in the event of the illustration we gave about Tom and Maggie living in the house, the question is, do they have where's Tom going to go? What's going to happen? How much assets? Let's say Tom has a pension and Maggie has a pension, but they don't have the benefits and the benefits can't afford keeping the house up. What's going to happen? What happens if Tom goes in the nursing home? Who's going to pay for it? Or let's say Maggie goes into the nursing home. Tom's taking care of the house. Who's paying the upkeep of the house? This is the scenario when people meet with our firm, and we've got wonderful people in our firm with tax and legal, as well as the financial planners, myself, George, other people. We think about this. I need to know the whole picture. What are the dreams? Do you plan on staying? Do you want to move? This is not a cookie cutter solution, because they don't work. Everybody's not the same, obviously. I'm a lot better looking than Dave or Alex. I can tell you that because I'm blind. But the bottom line is, it doesn't matter when you pass away. It matters when you're alive. The question is, what's in writing? The whole meeting of today is, what's in writing? What are the rules? So when the kids step into the picture, I call them the crows and the clowns, show up at the funeral. And the question is, that's where Pandora's box opens up, and assets, fees, taxes, as we spoke about in this show, can get disgusting and avoidable. This is why when people visit with us, Alex, by the way, if you're listening to me right now, please don't put this off. Procrastination is the mother of most people. give our studios a call. I'd love to speak. If you want to speak to myself off the air, you want to speak to Dave, call our studio, 609-488-4646. Again, 609-488-4646. No cost, no obligation. Have your questions written down. We'll go right to the meat of it, but I want to know the whole picture. And that's when people visit with us one-on-one. We can get the both pictures from both of the partners coming into the office, not just one side, because you may be out there thinking you're going to do this, but your partner is thinking something totally different. Why? Because you haven't brought it to light.
Yep.
Putting things off causes bigger problems. It causes the problem to exponentially multiply. 609-488-4646. Hey, we're here for you guys, doing this business now for over 40 years, helping one-on-one, helping you make smart decisions with your money. Give us a call. We'd love to take your call and help you and guide you through this jungle of decisions.
Yep. Thank you for that, Scott. Today, discussing common reasons for obtaining a domestic partnership agreement. We're going to go over end-of-life decisions, retirement benefits, and more when we come back. This is Financial Insanity.
Who likes uncertainty? Wall Street certainly does not. With near record inflation and partisan politics, there's a lot of uncertainty right now. What will America's future look like? What will your future look like? Will your taxes go up? Will your savings go down? For more than 40 years here in the Jersey Shore area, Scott McLean and the team at McLean Advisory Group have seen uncertainty come and go. No matter what the future holds, Scott can help you create a plan designed to preserve your finances in uncertain times. And it's not a matter of if those uncertain times will show up, but when. Call 609-488-4646 now to meet with Scott McLean and the team at McLean Advisory Group. If uncertainty is causing you to feel insecure, Scott McLean might be able to help. Call 609-488-4646 and schedule your visit today. Again, that's 609-488-4646.
Investment advisory services are offered through Sound Income Strategies, LLC. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal.
Retirement planning, investment planning is a two-way street. It's got to meet. I need to understand the good, bad, and ugly you've been through so we can avoid those issues. This, to me, is very important.
We made it back. This is Financial Insanity with Scott McLean, presented by McLean Advisory Group.
Thank you so much for joining us today. A special edition. They're all special, but this one's even more special than usual. It's Financial Insanity. I'm Alex Dingman alongside Scott McLean of McLean Advisory Group. And we're joined here by Dave Connolley. I guess it's been long enough that Dave said, all right, it's been long enough. I'll come back and talk with you guys again. Dave is a consultant for the firm of Elizabeth Apollo, been a lawyer, though, in the area of New Jersey for over 40 years. Discussing today estate planning for unmarried partners, as this is something that's really been growing as far as in popularity in recent years and decades. So there are some common reasons for couples to obtain a domestic partnership agreement. We've been going over those today. Let's talk about something very important, guys, end-of-life decisions and having this agreement in place and how critical that can be.
Well, as we were speaking about, whose house is it? Let's say it's a joint house, or maybe one of the other's houses. Do you have the right to stay there? That's critical. You need to know that. In addition to that question, let's say in our segments before, we had Tom and Maggie in Maggie's house. Tom is living with Maggie at 17 years. This is a case that Dave helped with. The names have been changed. But notwithstanding, now Maggie goes to a nursing home. Dave is in her house. Could he be kicked out? I don't know. And then Maggie passes away. Can she be kicked out? If there's no agreement in place, Dave, what happens to our friend Tom? Is he going to go have to look around for another place?
In all likelihood, he will. And not only that, the nursing home, if you're in a nursing home, will also put a lien on the house. If it was owned by domestic partners or spouses, they can only attach half the house. If it's just in the person who is in the nursing home, then the nursing home can attach the full house for any payments of costs.
If you're listening out there, Dave made a very important point. I get this all the time, and I have Dave say it again, but this is very important. I get it time after time. Should I put my house into an irrevocable trust to protect from nursing home? I want to protect that money so my partner can stay there. But if my partner dies, all the money goes to my kids when my partner dies. This is so important, Dave. Go back again and say that again if you're a domestic partner versus not. Guys, this is protecting your assets from the nursing home facilities.
The Medicaid Asset Protection Trust is very important. It's very complicated to understand. Basically, you're putting your house in a trust that will insulate any liens being put on the house if a person is getting Medicaid in order to go into a nursing home. And a lot of people think Medicaid is only for the poor. Well, that's the intent, but you can own a house with equity of $950,000 and still qualify for Medicaid. So it's a complicated area, but it's something that people should at least take a look at to see if they want to take that approach in order to protect their assets. You need to be married if you're going to protect the asset for the person that is not going into the nursing home. Like I say, it's a very complicated area of law, and it's not only law, it contains a lot of different elements, such as financial planning, but it's something that you have to sit down and really study and say, am I willing to give up my house, put it into a trust, and at that point, it will be protected from my creditors.
Talking today about domestic partnership agreements. Very important stuff. Some common reasons to obtain one of these if you are out there and maybe a marriage not in the cards, just a decision, or maybe you just kind of want to know the difference here, or maybe you're in a domestic partnership and you're not even sure of all the things that entails. And so talking about that today, if something raises questions for you, the number is 609-488-4646. Again, 609-488-4646. And talk here briefly along the same lines of what we've been hitting on, but cohabitation agreement, and how does this is this part of a reason why someone might join a domestic partnership agreement?
It depends on what's in the agreement. You put anything you want in an agreement, cohabitation or whatever, but it's not going to be the same. It's an agreement between parties. It's not the same as a domestic partnership agreement, which is sanctioned by the state, and as a result, you get more benefits from the state, such as being able to file a joint tax return. So whatever the agreement, a cohabitation agreement is, it's only as good as the terms and conditions that are negotiated, whereas a domestic partnership agreement is by law. It tells you what you can and can't do.
No, that's very good.
Dave, let's say I've got a girlfriend, we'll call her Sue, and Sue and I it's my house. Sue is living with me, and so all of a sudden, I give Sue. We don't have any agreements, nothing in place. But I go to the lawyer, and he gives me draws up an agreement. I don't know if this is true or not, but I'm going to give Sue life rights to my house. And in the event I pass away or going to the nursing home, Sue has the right to stay in that house until she dies, becomes disabled, or if she decides to move out, or maybe she decides to get married. I don't want Sue and her new spouse or boyfriend to move in or girlfriend to move in my house. Is there such an agreement? When I die and she dies, I want to make sure that my kids get the full asset.
Absolutely. You can even put that in a will. You can put that in a separate agreement. Basically, you're saying that you're giving your partner the ability to stay as a tenant in the house, so long as that person pays for all the repair, upkeep, taxes, or whatever else is involved in maintaining the house. And upon the death or moving out or going into a nursing home of that person, then the agreement will be held null and void, and the children can sell the house or do whatever they want. That's definitely a valid agreement.
So really, if I don't want to for those people who are saying, I don't want to get married. I don't want a domestic partnership, but I do want to take care of my sweetie. This is another way to do it, but it's not is it perfected? Is it okay to do that?
It's definitely okay, but it's between two parties. One party determining the terms and conditions of how the other party will stay in the house.
Can the kids kick Sue out? Let's say I decide to let Sue stay there. I pass away. She has life rights. Can they kick Sue out if I give her life rights?
Well, I can try to, but it's up to the court to determine whether the agreement will hold water or not. If the agreement is valid and written with strong language, they're going to lose. The kids are going to lose. If the agreement is haphazard, well, they may win. It depends on how strong the agreement is. But you can always contest the agreement. The question is, are you going to win or lose?
Alex, I find this funny because when I meet with people, it's funny when I ask people to visit with our firm and we go over the 3D approach, whether it's the dreams, the dollars, or the dynasty, as we talk about the dynasty now, and meeting, I want to read their will, power of attorney, living will. This is the problem I see when it comes to life decisions. And then it goes into the retirement benefits, the benefits coming in from the financial planning and the assets, and where do they go, and what happens to the assets that maybe the one of the parties were expecting to come in to pay the house. Now they can't even afford to stay in the house. This is a problem. This is why people meet with me, and over again, I'm drilling down to find out what's the best case scenario and what's the worst case scenario. What do we focus on, Alex? What's the worst case scenario? Because people don't think worst case is going to happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
Today, you're healthy. You see, you're playing golf on the golf course. You're bowling alley. You're having fun, having a pizza and playing mahjong. And the next day, you can't even wake up and move. This is life. It's not the golden years for many people. It's the rusty years. And boy, when the rust happens, the problem is we got to go to the dynasty planning, the legacy. This is a problem.
Right. And that's why it's just so important to talk about this, to talk about a domestic partnership agreement, just to get this out here. And this has been really interesting, maybe eye-opening for some folks that are out there, and maybe they don't have any paperwork. And I know it's not the sexiest thing. It's not the most exciting thing, but
not at all.
But Scott and Dave and Scott there in his office can help you through the process, and it really can be beneficial. And we just have a little bit of time left. Again, that number is 609-488-4646, 609-488-4646. And maybe just close this segment by talking about the personal commitment the agreement can serve as well, because that's obviously a huge part of this.
This goes between the lawyer, financial advisor, and the two partners to help them really guide you along. Our job as a financial planner and as a lawyer is not to tell you what to do, but since we've gone down this road now, Dave over 40 years and me over 40 years, although Dave's a lot older and I'm a lot better looking, but after a period of time, you kind of learn a thing or two, and we can guide you, but we're not going to tell you what to do. We're going to tell you several situations that we have been involved with that you probably are not involved with. This is all we do. This is nothing but this is all we do. This is our passion. I mean, I can tell you that if you haven't sat down and your financial advisor hasn't reviewed the legal documents as well as the tax documents and financial documents and haven't spoken to those of you that are possibly thinking about domestic partnership, those of you that maybe that are married and haven't really reviewed this is a problem. And those of you who have no documents, this is just don't be double dumb. Take action and get to it, because there's nothing worse than procrastination. And all of a sudden, I can tell you, Dave has done this several times. He has to take a road trip, go to the hospital, and meet with people. Dave, do you remember that? I mean, you've been to several hospitals and you have to do paperwork. Tell the audience what you've noticed.
Well, at that time, hopefully they're still cognizant and they can talk to you and let you know what they want to do. Otherwise, it's too late.
Dave said it's too late. It's never too late. Give our studios a call. Let's talk about it. Don't put this off. You give us studios. Come down here, speak to Bonnie, 609-488-4646, 609-488-4646. Meet with me in person, no cost, no obligation. I promise you, I give you my word, because why? It's good. And we've been around for many years. I want to make sure you're buttoned up. And this is how our name gets out there, why we have such a great name in the area, and want to invite you to down 609-488-4646. Alex,
yes,
thanks for allowing us to share the show with you, because I know it's not being done, and this is critical.
No, so good. And Dave, thanks for joining us today, my friend.
My pleasure.
And when we come back, the top 5 signs you need a new advisor. This is Financial Insanity, out-of-the-box thinking for your financial sanity.
Stop for a moment and think about this. Do you know how much money in your 401k or IRA is actually yours? Or will the government take a bigger chunk than you thought? Remember, you still might owe taxes on that money, but do you have a plan to help make sure you don't pay more than you should? At McLean Advisory Group, we believe you deserve to keep more of what you've earned, which is why we're here to help you navigate the confusing world of retirement taxes. It's your money. You deserve to know what's at stake. Right now, taxes are historically low, but they won't be this low forever. So call the McLean Advisory Group team today so you don't miss out on this opportunity. 609-488-4646. That's 609-488-4646. You work hard for your money, and we'll work just as hard to help you keep it. McLean Advisory Group, 609-488-4646. Investment advisory services offered through Sound Income Strategies, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisory firm. McLean Tax Advisory Group and Sound Income Strategies are not associated entities.
I call it the chicken and the egg. The chicken is the investment, the egg is the dividend. And so when the chicken pops out the eggs, if you don't need the money, let's reinvest the eggs and buy more chickens.
Man, that's just an excellent analogy, Scott.
This is Financial Insanity with Scott McLean, powered by McLean Advisory Group.
Well, if you've been with an advisor for a while and you're thinking about making a change, there are 5 signs it is finally time to fire your financial advisor. Or maybe you're just considering getting a second opinion. We're going to hear about that now. Scott McLean here on Financial Insanity. Thank you so much for joining us. And Scott.
Thanks, Alex.
Yes, this is one of those times where, maybe somebody's out there thinking, gosh, I don't know if this person is right for me, or maybe they're thinking, I've been hearing about the value of getting a second opinion, and maybe one of these notes here or one of these signs will resonate with you. So let's jump into it here, Scott. So the first sign that it could be time to fire your current advisor, they are not acting in your best interest. I know that is so important, Scott.
It's really important, Alex. When I hire a limousine driver to bring me to the airport or bring me somewhere, my best interest is to get there on time, safely, securely, with a nice, smooth, comfortable ride. The challenge is in this volatile market, are they paying attention to it? Or maybe they're acting on their benefit. Let's get the highest rate of return, but that's speeding up and slowing down and speeding up on that limousine. Well, if they're not acting in the best interest, they're not a fiduciary. They're selling products that may have had their pocketbook. Are they ethically bound by, as we are, as a fiduciary? Are they obligated to really ask lots of deep, concerning questions? I think that's the number one. Are they acting in your best interest out there listening to me? Are they just, don't worry, hang in there, like they said when I was in the early 80s? Hang in there, don't worry, it'll come back. In the year 2000, hang in there, don't worry, it'll come back. That's what they told us to say. Those statements doesn't work when you're in retirement or nearing retirement. So number one is, Alex, are they really looking at your best interest? Are they asking about your spouse and their health? Asking lots of really come to Jesus, I call it, questions. Are they really getting down in the dirt? Maybe you have a child that's disabled. Are they thinking about that child? How are they going to protect it? Maybe their lights are twinkling. They're getting dementia. Are they listening to your best interest, not just growing the money? That's really important. They're looking maybe at commissions versus really advising. That's really important.
Well, and like a driver that maybe's getting gas after picking you up as opposed to doing before. They're not acting in your best interests. Like you want an advisor to be thinking about me instead of thinking about yourself.
Absolutely.
Now, number 2 here, as we're going through 5 signs that it could be time to fire your advisor, they dismiss your input. Scott, you wouldn't want that.
I don't know anybody, and it's time really to leave, dismissing the input. I think if I was at Christmas time, if I wanted a new tennis racket, I remember the famous Arthur Ashe tennis racket. I played tennis a lot when I was younger, and I really wanted a tennis racket. Well, if I got a ping pong racket, I wanted a tennis racket. Different game. You hit the ball across the little fence or the big fence. The question is, did mom and dad dismiss me? And that really makes a challenge for how I feel about things. You didn't listen, mom, dad, or you didn't listen, Mr. and Mrs. Advisor. You see, with the expertise of asking about the taxes, ask about the legal questions, ask about the financial and investment questions. Maybe you were aggressive a few years ago when the market was taking off, but now it's going down and they don't listen to you because they say, well, it's going to come back. Hang in there. Don't worry. They absolutely didn't listen. And maybe they respond, but they didn't take action. And this is a real problem in the industry today because hopefully the market's come back. It's had a real challenge. I would like, if anybody's out there listening, you'd like a little discussion. Let's have a little talk. I'd love to talk to you off the air. And if you'd like to ask some questions to me, I'll be happy to get a hold of you. You can actually leave it with Bonnie, and Bonnie will set up a time to have you talk to us off the air at 609-488-4646. Because when you hire a financial advisor, not only number one, they were saying not acting in your best interest, and number two, are they listening or are they dismissing your input? In other words, maybe you had a child that has to move back in with you because they made a series of bad decisions and they're going through a financial challenge. Okay, that needs to be in the plan. That's why I think these financial plans are good for a short period of time, maybe a month or two, not for a long period of time because life happens. So number one, not acting in your best interest. Number two, they dismiss your input. Please, this is important to discuss this, if not on a yearly basis, at least once or twice, maybe 4 times a year if your life is really changing. Don't let your input get dismissed. Alex, now you had number 3, which is really challenging. Alex, what have you heard out? What was number 3, the biggest challenge you've heard?
Sure, and what I'll say too is, and this kind of goes 2 and 3 kind of go hand in hand. And to your point about a person like Bonnie, Bonnie is just such a great asset for you, a tremendous person to work with, to talk to, and just a great person to have in your office, and somebody who will never be number 3. Difficult to reach because sure, Scott, you might be in and out of meetings with other fine folks, and Bonnie is the person in your office to be there to help take those calls and guide clients to you and through the process. But number 3, as far as 5 signs it could be time to fire your advisor, they're difficult to reach.
You know, Alex, that's a wonderful choice. I was going to bring that up. I had different words, but your words are much better than mine. Difficult to reach. You know, we've actually just hired 2 more people because our practice is growing, which I'm so pleased it's growing. We get so many of our clients referring us, and not being able to. The number 1 goal is to take care of our clients. Number 2 goal is get new business, and of course we got to get new business to keep our business going. But luckily, we don't work out of the back of our car. We don't travel to someone's house. We don't. We have to have them come here. I used to do that in the early years of my practice from 1982, 83, 84. And actually stopped doing that in around 1995, 96, where people started coming in. I just could not make my time worthwhile. So if they're working on the back of the car, God bless them. But if they don't have a staff and someone to follow up with the questions, we're trying to train our new staff members to answer a lot of questions because we don't want people hanging out there. Just today, we had the beautiful husband pass away, and we're now discussing with them, okay, with his wife, okay, how do we plan your income? You've just lost your husband's Social Security since yours was higher. He had a pension. His pension dropped down from $1,000 a month to $450 a month. So we have to make that up. We're trying to figure that out. You know what? They need to reach somebody. And that's important. That's why we have to have a staff. So I think that's really important because, you know, again, being in that limousine, you want to be able to communicate with people which way to go, how to get there. They think they know where to go, but maybe you have a different area. So if you can't reach them, they dismiss your impact. They are not acting in your best interest. Well, are they difficult to reach? And this is really, really a challenge I hear. It's almost like you buy a product at the bank, thinking the bank's going to protect you. You set it and forget it. And that is not the area because life as a fiduciary, as an advisor, it has a lot of different segments, which is legal, tax, and finance.
Well, and if you want to reach Scott, you can at 609-488-4646. Again, the number 609 888-488-4646. Going through 5 signs it could be time to fire your advisor. Number 1, they're not acting in your best interest. Number 2, they dismiss your input. Number 3, they're difficult to reach. Number 4, Scott, they don't give you the details. Now, I don't want all the details, but heck, if I'm giving you some of my money or a lot of my money, I would like to kind of know what's going on and what you're doing with it and not have it be a bunch of mumbo jumbo.
You know, whether they're investing $5,000 or $500,000, $1 million, each person is not, Alex, a cookie cutter. Now, when I say cookie cutter, Alex, what that means for those of you listening, let's say you have mutual funds and you bought what's called target date mutual funds. They call it the 2020, 2025, 2030. In other words, when are you going to retire? And say, well, I'm going to retire in 2035. Okay, you click it, set it, forget it. No. Not good. You need to really pay attention to those areas because they got to dig down for more details as to how much do you want to pull out. If it's for income, do we want money for our special needs child? What happens if you become disabled? These are in-depth questions that could lead down the estate planning role, which we do at our firm. I think you know that, Alex. We do that really. We got great people. Maybe they have other types of investment tools they didn't tell us about or didn't tell the advisor about. They need to pull that in, which we did just the other day, where they had an extra $30,000, which didn't change their life, but they said, oh, Scott, by the way, we have an extra $30,000. Great, let's put that over here. You take care of it. Go put it in a 3% account at Ally Bank if you wish to use them. Great liquid. But again, people's details are so important. Most of the times what I find, Alex, is if I don't ask the questions, they may not even remember to ask. Or if I don't ask diving deep questions, by the way, who does your money go to? Oh, you want to make sure it's protected because your daughter has a spendthrift problem? Well, maybe we need a spendthrift trust because if she gets it all at once, she's going to blow it. Or maybe your son is married to a person, a woman, a man that they don't like, and you want to protect that money from that person. Maybe we need to have that discussion. Again, this is a time for the advisor that I hope, if before you advise them, are they asking you really deep down, I call it intimate questions, intimate meaning intimately about your finances, to make sure you preserve your money. The money goes to the right place. And today's could be different than 2 years from now. So again, a tight lip will sink a ship. Well, could it sink a ship if you know there's a hole in it? Well, let's go tell the captain we got a problem. So again, I'm not sure what you guys are doing out there listening. That's right. You right now that are listening to me, you got to give all the information out there. They're not asking. That's why I wrote the book, The Three Blind Mice, how the financial planning process leads your money to a mousetrap. I bring up 11 different flags that pop up. And for those of you listening right now, if you'd like to get a copy of my book, I'd love to get it in your hands any way possible. Just give Bonnie a call because these are some questions that Alex brought up, the 5 different areas. Number 1, not acting in your best interest. Fire him or your advisor. Number 2, they dismiss your input. They're not listening, trying to have their own agenda, not your agenda. And by the way, your agenda may change, as we just spoke. Number 3 was they're difficult to reach. And lastly, number 4 is they don't give you clear or all the details. But there's one more.
One more, Scott.
There's one more that's really, really, really important that ties it all together. Alex, what was that number 5? I think that you found when you speaking to your mom and dad and other advisors, families.
Absolutely. We got just a couple minutes left. We want to go over the last one, and this one's important. And for you, it's something that's easy. You're a people person. You're a social guy. You're easy to get along with, and you want to get to know people. And this is the last one. So 5 signs it could be time to fire your advisor. The last one, they don't take the time to get to know you. Why is that important, Scott?
Guys, listen, if you're listening to me right now, if you invest any money with an advisor, the first time you meet them, you need to run. If they beg you for money, you need to run. You need to get to know them, know their personality, their role. It just may not be a good fit. And if you're married, have a special partner, you know what? You guys need to talk about it on your own. I would do no business with anybody. I tell it to clients when they come visit me, Alex. We will not do business today. I want to get to know you. I want to know if I can help you. I want to know if we're a good fit for our firm and a good fit for you, because if something happens to you, I need to know how our firm can best serve you. So they don't take time to get to know you. You need to get your questions written, not just, are you a fiduciary? That's important. Please, 609-488-4646. This was, again, the top subjects, the top area that people want to make a shift in their advisors. It's time to look at them. Number one, they're not acting in your best interest. Number two, they dismiss your input. Number three, they're difficult to reach. Very important. Number four, they don't give you the details. They need to give you all the details. And lastly, really don't take time to get to know you. This could be a wonderful time to get another opinion.
This radio program may contain information which has gone regulatory or other significant changes since its original recording. The information and views expressed on today's show is educational in nature and is not intended to be a recommendation for any specific investment, product, strategy, plan, tax, or legal advice. Information presented is believed to be factual and up to date, but we do not guarantee its accuracy. Investment advisory services offered through Sound Income Strategies, LLC, a SEC-registered investment advisory firm. McLean Advisory Group and Sound Income Strategies, LLC, are not associated entities.
This radio show is a paid placement.